Hello friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg and I am the Audiophiliac, and I am excited. I am excited because today's show is all about you. It's all about Audiophiliac viewer systems. Now I said systems because it's not just one system that's going to be shown at the conclusion of today's show. No, the entire episode is Audiophiliac viewer systems. So thanks to everyone who has ever sent in pictures of their systems. I am truly honored to be, let's say, the portal to see each other's stuff, And just the diversity of what I see in all of these images. New systems, vintage systems, DIY, tape, solid state, tube, analog, it's all here and it's all beautiful. I mean, it's so personal to show each other our systems. And the fact that I could do it here on the YouTube channel, it's really, really good. It's a huge amount of work to cull through hundreds of emails, picking out the very best ones. So anyway, let's get to it right now. Audiophiliac viewer systems in their full splendor right here on the Audiophiliac show. We're going to start with Joe from Cleveland, Ohio. He's got a big system there. The source is a PC running Order Nirvana streaming Qobuz. The DAC is an Audio Mirror Troubadour 3 SE. Preamp is a Topping Pre-90. Power is by Parasound A51. And the speakers, I know I'm going to mangle this name, Tecton Olberth. Ali Riza is from Vienna, Austria. He's got quite the system there with Macintosh MA6400 integrated amp, a Macintosh D100 DAC preamp. Then there's a modified Thorens TD125 turntable with a Morch-based arm and an Ortophon cartridge. Speakers, though, are DIY, and they utilize JBL 2225H vintage woofers in a back horn-loaded configuration. Then there's JBL 2420 vintage Alnico compression drivers mounted to JBL 2345 radial horns as mid-ranges, and then Coral H70 Japanese vintage super tweeters. This is actually John's office system, using a pair of horns he built with two 21-inch woofers in a Western Electric 15 horn bell back designed for wall loading. The multi-cell horn comes from the 1970s, and it was used in the Mecca Arena in Milwaukee, where many famous acts played through them. The driver itself, though, is coaxial. Oh, and it's nice. John included this shot of his pooch. This is pretty special. This one comes from Bruce. He lives in Edmonton, Canada, and it's a DIY system. The power amps were an 18-month project. They are Class AB, 96 output transistors per unit, and each amp weighs 310 pounds. It put out approximately 1,000 watts per side. The preamp is a modified Yakin 845 tube. Turntable is a Technics SL1100A that he purchased new in 1975. The linear speakers are also DIY with aluminum copper construction supplemented by 4 JBL 2242 18-inch subwoofers. P.S. The copper cat in the photo is Scratcher, and it was sculpted by Bruce's wife. Nandu has an acoustic signature Toronado Neo turntable with an acoustic signature TA 2000 tone arm with a 24 karat gold counterweight. Nice. Hana ML-MC cartridge. The integrated amp is a Luxman 595A SE, and there's a Luxman EQ500 reference phono stage. There's a Puritan power conditioner, and the speakers, by the way, are Larson 8.2. Kenneth lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and he has Magnapan 1.7i speakers. Sub is an SVS Micro 3000 preamp. Tone Winner AD86D. The amplifier is a Tone Winner AD2500. CD player, again, Tone Winner TY30. DAC SMSL SU9. And the turntable is a Fluence RT81. John lives in Hewitt, New Jersey. Let's keep it pretty simple here. He's got Soliloquy 6.3 speakers, Napa Acoustic NA208A integrated amp, a shit mighty 3 DAC. That's all he wrote. Renier is from the Netherlands, and he has a Denon DVD 3910 that he uses as an SACD player. There's also a Musical Fidelity V90 DAC, and the amplifier is a Meridian 555 from 1993, which makes it 2 years older than he is. Now, the speakers are a combination of DIY, open baffle, and horn. The open baffle part uses LII Audio F15 woofers. And then there's JBL D220 Ti titanium dome compression drivers with JBL HL 1425 waveguides. All of the acoustic treatment is DIY. The total cost of this system is around 1,500 euros. Nice going. Continuing, we have David's system, and he's 62 years old. He lives in Evanston, Illinois. His speakers are Volti Audio New Rival Special Editions with external crossovers, and they were delivered to him by Greg Roberts, the designer, himself. The power amplifier is a Wilsonton R8 with new old stock EL34 tubes. The preamp is a Rogue Audio 99 Super Magnum, also with new old stock tubes. The DAC is a Schiit Bifrost 2. CD transport is an Audiolab 6000, and the streamer is the ever-popular Blue Sound Node. Turntable is an Audio-Technica LP60X, and the dog, by the way, is Max. Tim lives in Hampshire, UK, and he calls this his humble setup. I love this shot. There's a Project Essentials 2 turntable with an Audiophon 2M Blue cartridge, homemade chopping board bass, because it looks nice, a Leak Stereo 130 amplifier, KEF LS50 metas with slightly wobbly homemade stands. There's also a Wharfdale SW150 subwoofer and old Mac Mini streaming Tidal through Roon. Oh, and also an ancient 20-pound Blu-ray player for playing his 5 CDs. Armin system is vintage and also cutting edge. For the vintage portion, he has a pair of Audio Research D240 solid-state amplifiers in bridge mono configuration, and a tube Audio Research LS7 line stage, and a tube Audio Research PH3 phono preamp. For the cutting edge part, there's KEF Blade 2s that he's owned for about 2 months. His last highlight is the Audiophon Century limited edition turntable, made in limited numbers to celebrate Audiophon's 100th anniversary in 2018. The rest of the sources are Blue Sound Vault 2 Ripper and Streamer for Tidal and Qobuz, and there's also a Denon DVD 2900 SACD player. Ron has a headphone-based system with those beautiful ZMF Verite closebacks. The DAC amp is an iFi Audio Pro I DSD, and the tube amplifier is Felix Audio. Okay, now we got Oswaldo, and he lives in Weston, Florida, and there's a lot going on here. Speakers are System Audio Pandion 50, line stage Heron Audio VTSP3A, phono stage Heron Audio VTPH2A, and then there's a second phono stage, Carry Audio PH302 Mark II. Amplifier is a Carry Audio CAD120S Mark II. Turntable number 1 is a VPI Avenger reference with a Koetsu Black Goldline cartridge. And on turntable number 2 is a U-Turn Orbit Plus. 2 reel-to-reels, a Tascam 33-2, and the second one is a Revox A77. Cassette number 1 is a Nakamichi 680ZX. Cassette number 2 is a JVC KD A8. There's a noise reduction processor by Nakamichi. It's the NR200. And line conditioner is a Chang Lightspeed CLS 609. Mike is 59 years old. He lives in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and he has been into audio and music since early childhood. His system is as follows. He has a Basis 1400 turntable, a Basis Vector 3 arm with a Hanna ML cartridge. Those are very popular. Cambridge Audio CXC transport, Rogue Sphinx V3 integrated amp, a Lumen U1 mini streaming transport, Schiit Audio Bifrost 2 DAC, Bowers & Wilkins Matrix 804 speaker with Sue Research VTF2 sub, and all of that, well, some of that at least, rests on a Salamander S30 rack. Paul's system is neat. He has a Rotel A12 amplifier, a Manny 2 phonostage, that's from Schiit, Project Carbon Evo turntable with a Sumiko Rainier cartridge, Blue Sound Node streamer, KEF LS50 metas, and he lives in Wicker Park, Chicago. Thomas lives in Germany, and he is an audiophile. He didn't say that, but I'm kind of guessing. Anyway, his speakers, I've never heard of these speakers, but they look really cool. They are ME Gatan 901K active speakers with 16-inch woofers. Streamer is a Lin DS1 Accurate. Music server is a Melco HA-N1A. Aaron is 30 years old. He lives in Budapest, Hungary. It's got a gorgeous picture. Oh, this is a beautiful picture with Sennheiser HD800S headphones, an iFi Micro iDSD Black Label DAC amp, I guess, and he's running J River. Nice. I like this. This one is very, very tidy. It comes from Rudy and has a Nakamichi SoundSpace 8 all-in-one 5-disc changer, AM/FM tuner, DAC, etc., and compact speakers and a 20-watt subwoofer. Anyway, so there's that part. Then there's an Audio-Technica AT-LP2X fully automatic turntable. That's pretty cool. Then a Schiit Manny phono preamp, a Schiit SYS, which is a passive preamp, and topping it all off, a Raspberry Pi 4B network streamer. George lives currently in Berlin, but he's actually from Costa Rica. He's been living in Berlin for quite some time. He used to be a DJ, but now, he doesn't do that anymore, but he plays records for friends, and he's got this very cool looking system. And it's funny that he only really described the Richard Long power conditioner and the Yuri DJ mixer preamp that came from a now closed club, he doesn't say which one, in New York City. The clipped horns are in there too. Charles has these 3-watt wonders. These are his DIY speakers that use LII 8-inch full-range drivers. He says he doesn't need to use a subwoofer. They're astonishing in their top-to-bottom frequency response and punch, as well as mid-range. Best speakers he's ever owned. Current system, well, let's see. We'll start at the beginning with a fully loaded Lin LP12 with a Koetsu Black Gold Line cartridge. His mono turntable, though, is a Dr. Fikert Valari with a linear power supply. And that one has a Hana SL mono cartridge. CD player is a Musical Fidelity M3 SCD. Phono stage is a Luxman EQ500. Line stage is a Prima Luna Prologue Premium. The amplifier is an airtight ATM 300R. Speakers are Tecton The Perfect Set. Cabling is by Nordist. And the equipment racks are Quadraspire, and the acoustic treatment is by Michael Green Designs. Now this one comes from Chell. He is a music teacher and a saxophone player. It's a very handsome system. Now the speakers are modded Klipsch RP600M, modded with the GR Research crossover kit, which balance the highs and mids. He likes it a lot. The amp is also modded. It's an amp camp amp with dual 36-volt power supplies. Preamp is a now vintage Adcom GTP 750 designed by Nelson Pass. The turntable is a Thorens TD160 Super with a Riga arm and a Hana EL cartridge with a MoFi Ultra phono preamp. And the digital is the Blue Sound Node 2i. Joe has a Crate and Barrel end table loaded with Schiit, namely a Schiit Valley 2 preamp, a Schiit Loki equalizer, a Schiit SYS passive preamp, a Schiit Madi multi-bit DAC, and a Schiit Manny phono preamp. And the headphones, by the way, are Audeze LCD2C. CD player is a Cambridge Audio CXC transport. Turntable is old school 80s Technics SL BD22. Nice. Charlie, wowza, that's a Thorens TD160 with an Ortophon bronze cartridge. There's also a Thorens TD165 with a Jelco arm and a Denon 103R. Reel-to-reel is a TIAC A4010S, Onkyo C7030 CD transport, PS Audio Stellar Phono preamp, Schiit Bifrost DAC, Schiit Freya preamp, Schiit Lokius EQ, PS Audio M1200 monoblock amps. Oh, but then the speakers, they are quad ESL 57s. Those are electrostatic speakers designed in 1957. And sitting right by are Dahlquist DQ10s. Look so similar, don't you think? They are actually from, I guess, the 70s. And they're not electrostatic speakers, they're dynamic speakers. Dave is from Columbus, Ohio, and his amplifier is an Anthem MRX 520. Speakers are Zoo Omen Dirty Weekend. Turntable, a refurbished Dual 1219 with an Ortophon OM10 cartridge. Phono stage, you got it, Schiit Manny. Streamer is a Raspberry Pi 4 running Volumio. DAC is a Schiit Madi. The CD player, he doesn't know. It's some random Sony SACD player he got for $25. Murph is from Philadelphia. He's a big fan of the channel. Thank you, Murph. His listening room, though, is very small, just 10 by 12 feet. His turntable is a Technics SL1200 Mark II paired with a Stanton 881S with the original D81 stylus brush. The amp is a Pioneer Elite A20. Speakers are Definitive Technology D9s. Headphone amp is by Bravo Audio, and the headphones are Sennheiser HD 598s. Thank you so much, Murph. We're going to continue with Jim. He lives in Sun Valley, California. His speakers are Harbeth P3 ESRs, but he also has in that picture Legacy Classic, Kintuck, Betsy Baffles, and a Deckware DM945 speaker. The sub is a KEF KC62. The amp, by the way, is classic. It is a Harman Kardon Citation 5. It's 60 years old. Oh, and the pugs, by the way, Oprah and Pound Cake. They love the Harbeths a lot, but their snoring gets in the way of serious listening, says Jim. Oh, and on the other wall of Jim's place there, he has a Merrill Williams Real 101.2 turntable with a Serene TA1 12-inch tone arm, and that arm has an Ortophon Cadenza Blue cartridge. And there's a Denon DCD 600NE CD player. Phono stage is a Zesto Audio Andros 1.2. Reel to Reel is a Revox A77. Nice stuff. Jacob is 43 years old and he teaches history and philosophy in Tyler, Texas. He got on the journey, the audiophile journey, about 6 years ago. His amp is modest, he says, but there's a Marantz PM6006 integrated amplifier, Audio-Technica LP120 turntable, Onkyo TA2026 cassette deck, Arlic S10 streamer, and Andrew Jones Pioneer SP FS52 speakers with a matching sub. It's a budget system, but it serves Jacob well. Steve has been an audiophile for about, 49 years. He used to be a writer, a reviewer for Sounds Like magazine. I kind of remember that one. And after that, The Absolute Sound. His speakers are KEF R11s. They're phenomenal. The turntable, VPI Classic 3 with a 3D printed arm and a Lyra Kleos MC cartridge. Phono preamp is not visible, but it is a PS Audio Stellar. There's a Hagel H390 integrated amp, Audio Research CD9 CD player. The streamer is an Orlic Aries G1, and the power conditioner is a PS Audio PowerStream P15. We're going to check in next with Cody. He's 67 years old. He is retired and he lives in Oregon. And he's got a pretty darn serious system with a VTL ST80 power amp, VTL TL5 preamp, Chinook phono stage, a Manley Chinook phono stage. All of these have new old stock tubes in them, by the way. There's a Clear Audio Performance DC turntable with a tracer tone arm, Kaseki Purple Heart cartridge, Marantz 6005 CD player, Vandersteen 2C Signature 2s. Oh, I love those speakers. SVS Micro 3000 subwoofers. A lot of interconnect cables by AudioQuest. Next up is Martin from East Greenstead in the UK, and he is a CD collector with about 620 CDs. His system is as follows. He has a Rega Planet CD player, a TAG McLaren CDT20R transport, Chord Electronics DAC 64, iFi Zen Blue Bluetooth streamer, say that 3 times fast, Audiolab 8300A integrated amp with EPOS ES11 speakers, and there's Kimber cable throughout. Goran lives in Croatia, and he has pretty much a vintage system here. The tape deck is a Technics RS-BX747. CD player is a Technics SL PS670A from 1977. The integrated amp is an NAD 302 from 1995. Speakers are Monitor Audio BR6 from 2006. The spare speaker set is Celestion 3 Mark II from 1995. Interconnect cables are Taralad Prism 22s. And speaker cables are AudioQuest Type 4. Sean lives in Johns Creek, Georgia. It's kind of an old meets new system. He has JBL model 4312C control monitors purchased new in 1987. Definitive Technology Pro Sub 100 TL, Prima Luna Evo 400 integrated amp, EAT E-Glow Petite Phonostage, Project Debut Carbon DC turntable with an Ortophon 2M Blue, and a Project Ground E-Bass. Grounded E-Bass, Sennheiser HD560S headphones. All of that is in a 1960 RCA stereo console. John Mark is from Canada, and his speakers are Paradigm Signature S8. There's a Bryston B4 SST amp, Bryston BP26 preamp with a separate MP2 power supply, Bryston BCD1 CD player, Bryston BDP1 digital player, Bryston BHA1 headphone amplifier. Oh, and the headphones are Focal Utopia. Nice system. Very Canadian. Robert is 26 years old. He's from Los Frenos, Texas. He's always loved audio and music. Matter of fact, he plays French horn, trumpet, trombone, baritone, etc. And he studied for 3 years at Texas A&M. His headphones are pretty serious. He has Hi-Fi Man Susvera and Abyss Diana TC. The amp is a Bryston Soloist GT. There's also a Macintosh MHA 200. Paul has a DIY custom turntable isolation platform he built specifically for his Clear Audio Ovation turntable. It's built out of 2 store-bought butcher block cutting boards with sandwich and recessed Nobo Sound springs. He adhered light cherry wood veneer to the edges of the butcher block and then stained it and finished it to match the Ovation wood finish as close as possible. Looks pretty neat. Okay, so Bastian has a heavily worked over Thorens TD316 turntable that he bought used, but he's thinking about upgrading to a Riga Planer 3. The CD player is an Atoll CD50 that he purchased 20 years ago. The DAC is an RME ADI2 DAC FS. And then the preamp is a Schiit Freya Plus. The amp is an Atoll IN50 he purchased with the CD player. The speakers are Totem Skylights. I reviewed those last year. Nice little speaker. And the sub is a Totem Kin Sub 8. We are now ready for Caleb. He is 30 years old. He has a Project Experience SD turntable with a Sumiko Pearl cartridge, Parasound X phono preamp, Prima Luna Evo 100, and the speakers are Zoo Dirty Weekend Mark IIs with Clarity caps. By the way, the console was custom made by a carpenter here in the Twin Cities where he lives, same as the guy that did the coffee table. Nice. Glenn is sporting Vandersteen 3 speakers with sound anchor stands. He has an Audio Research SP6 preamp, Oppo 205 player, Parasound A23 amp, and an Accuphase T101 FM tuner. Nice going. Joe is from New Jersey, and he has a 1975 Philips turntable, a GA212, with a VM95 Shibata cartridge being amplified by a Schiit Manny phono preamp. There's also a Schiit multi-bit Modi DAC and a Schiit SYS passive preamp that runs into an Emotiva A-Flex power amp. Okay, so now I'm going to show you more pictures, but without narration, just to squeeze in a lot more setups. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac. Thank you so much for watching. If you dig what I'm doing here on the channel, please hit the like button. I would appreciate that. And by the way, check out my Patreon. That really helps support the channel, and there is a link to the Patreon in the description box. Then, there's also my new podcast. It's called the Audiophiliac Podcast, and you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and also my own podcast website, which is, not surprisingly, linked to below.